hard bouldering progresses like sort of like an inchworm. You've got a couple people that represent the head of the worm that are moving things forward and allow everyone else that, you know, sort of represents the middle of the worm or the back end of the worm to kind of follow, I guess, follow in tow, you know, and those people that are at the head allow the rest of the body to move forward and kind of provide a path for us all to move forward. And that's just kind of how I see things progressing right now. And, you know, I definitely see myself still in the middle of the worm. Hopefully someday I can, you know, be someone that's really pushing things forward. But we have a lot of people to thank, such as, you know, Daniel, Paul, you know, Chris, Adam, you know, Di, like all those guys just pushing things, allowing the rest of us to follow. Jade was one of those boulder problems that kind of showed us the way as far as like crimp lines go. It kind of showed us what was doable in the way of crimp climbing. And the first time I climbed on it, I honestly didn't think it was possible. I pulled on, you know, like 3 years ago or whatever it was first done, and it just didn't feel very likely for me, you know. But I've spent a lot of time in the last few years progressing myself as a climber. Not necessarily crimping a lot, but certainly continuing to try hard, and I just, in the end, I kind of ended up where I am today, you know, and that's how progression is. On the actual send go, I've had, you know, V5s feel harder in the fucking middle of the summer, you know what I mean? Like, you don't, yeah, everything has to come together. You have to execute, you have to do things right. There's an obvious, like, obvious state of fitness that you have to be in order to accomplish a problem such as Jade. But when you actually, it's so hard to grade something that when you actually climb it, it feels like, really? It feels easy. Like, it feels ridiculously easy. It feels a lot easier than you ever thought it would, you know? Like, when I climbed it, it didn't, I mean, when I climbed suspensions, the actual send go of suspension felt twice as hard as the actual send go of Jade, you know? Like, at least twice as hard. But it's just a different style of boulder problem. Like, when you do Jade, you do it. Like, you don't just, like, if there's any imperfection in your movement or how you go about climbing the thing, you're gonna be off the wall, so it's not gonna be sent. When you send it, it's like perfect in every way, you know? You don't fuck anything up. And that's what's so odd about trying to grade the thing. Is it's like, do you grade things based on the experiences up until the send, or do you grade things based off of the experience of the send, you know? Because that would change my whole outlook on the grades I've given for everything, you know? Like, there's plenty of things that when I've sent it, they've felt piss fucking easy, but I've spent a lot of time, you know, in order to get to that point where they feel really easy, you know? And then there's other climbs that I've done that, you know, haven't felt too bad, but when I actually sent them, like, they felt pretty damn hard to, like, actually just accomplish the send. But I think it's just a different style of boulder problem. Like, how do you know when? It just proves that how irrelevant grading is, actually, you know? Problems are going to become known in the future. structure as like Jade should be known as Jade, not Jade V15. You know, like suspension of disbelief should be known as suspension of disbelief, not V13 or V14 or whatever. Like, why do we continue to associate numbers to things that we are continually proving that those numbers are completely, you know, arbitrary? Like, they're completely different for everybody else, for different people. You know, there's no point in assigning this like stupid number to stuff. You know, like Jade felt like V10 to me when I did it. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's just pure honesty. You know, like I put in a lot of time to it, and it was definitely like those times were really hard. And at times, yes, it did feel like a V15 boulder problem. And at times, you know, and at times it felt like all the different grades. You know, but when I actually did it, everything came together and it felt easy. Jade isn't. Jade's a name, and Jade's a boulder problem that people associate with something really hard, and that's the important thing for me about doing Jade, not about the grade. It has nothing to do with the grade. I give it my personal grade for it. It's definitely like a step up in my evolution as a climber, and that's why I think it could warrant, you know, V14 for me. Who knows? It could be V13 for me. I don't fucking know. You know, like, it could be V15 for me. Who the fuck knows? Like, I'm gonna have to travel around and do other things in order to really know what. I've only climbed bouldered in the US, you know, a little bit in Squamish and stuff like that. Like, I've never really bouldered outside in Europe. Like, I'm gonna have to go to Europe and like decide whether or not, you know, how I feel. Decide whether or not Jade is what people say it is, or what the consensus is on grades in general. You know, the whole thing is just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Climbs should be known for the names that they're given and for the reputation that they have you know, the reputation that people have, you know, assigned to them almost, you know? Problems become famous for reasons other than their grade. We need to start thinking about things as far as their reputation as a problem, as far as their quality, their aesthetics, their uniqueness to the climbing world, you know, rather than what numbers people assign to them. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not an evolution of bouldering, the grading. Okay? The evolution of bouldering is seeing something new that was previously thought impossible and completing it.
A rant by Carlo Traversi.
Total fucking rant.